All right, today we are going to be talking about what to do with a story problem. Whenever you are given a story problem, the first thing that you need to do is make sure that you read the problem carefully. When you're reading the problem, it's really tempting to just skim over it and then you get done and you're like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. So as you're reading, look for facts that you're given and look for important words that might give you information about what operation. Are you adding? Are you subtracting? Are you multiplying? And you're also looking for what are we trying to find out? That's the information that you want to pick out as you're reading. So once you've kind of found all that information, you're going to determine what are the unknowns. What is it that we haven't been given information about? And we're going to choose a variable to represent the unknowns. I recommend that whatever it is that you know the least about is what you're going to want to choose as your variable, and then you will build everything off of that. Because there's probably going to be some sort of relationship between, if there's more than one unknown, they will give you information about some type of relationship. And once you have a variable and you know any relationships, then you can go ahead and write an equation. Sometimes if it's a complicated problem, it can help to start with words rather than jumping right in with the numbers you're given. I'll show you an example of that in just a minute. So let's start with, okay, so our first example says Maria has twice as much money as Helena. Together, they have $36. How much money does each girl have? So I know that what I'm looking for is how much money does Maria have? Oops, Maria's money. And I'm looking for Helena's money. So I need to decide, these are my unknowns. I don't know how much Helena has. I don't know how much Maria has. But I do know that Maria has twice as much as Helena. So since I know the very least amount about Helena, I'm going to call my variable H. That's going to stand for Helena's, oh, I forgot the dollar sign, Helena's money. Okay. And then I'm going to think to myself, okay, if I know that Helena has H dollars, they told me that Maria has twice as much. So that means twice as much as Helena, 2 times H. That is the relationship between our two unknowns, that Maria has twice as much as Helena. Together, they have $36. So that means if I take Maria's money, which was 2H, and Helena's money, which was H, it should add up to be $36. That is my equation. And now I just have to solve. And I can start by looking, I always am going to start by combining like terms. Each of these two terms has an H with it. So I'm going to say 2H plus another H gives me a total of 3H equals 36. Since the 3 is multiplying by, there's that little invisible dot, I know the inverse operation is division. So I'm going to do the same thing to both sides to keep it balanced, and H equals 12. So I know that Helena has $12. Now, since I know that Maria had twice as much as Helena, that means Maria has 24. And there's my answer. All right, let's look at another example. Example 2 says, a piece of wood is 50 inches long and is sawed into 2 pieces. One piece is 5 inches longer than the other. And I'm trying to figure out how long is each piece. So sometimes I like to draw a picture because I have this nice long piece of wood here that I know is 50 inches long. So that whole thing is 50 inches. And it tells me they've cut it into 2 pieces. And that one of the pieces is 5 inches longer than the other. Well, I don't know anything about the shorter piece. I'm going to call that piece X because I don't know any information about it. But I do know that this other side, the longer piece, is 5 inches longer. So if I took x, that's how long the short piece is, and I added 5 inches to it, that is how long this piece is. And now I know this piece plus this piece had to end up being the original 50 inches of the board. So I can write an equation. It was the longer piece, x plus 5, plus the shorter piece, x, equals 50 inches. Now I have an equation and I can start solving. I'm going to combine my like terms. I have two x's. Okay, so I've got my two x's here. It gives me 2x plus 5, since that's the only constant, no other like terms on that side, equals 50. Now I'm going to subtract the 5 from both. Okay, I don't know why this isn't recording quite right, but I subtracted 5 from both sides so that I could get my x's, one of my x term right here, to be all by itself, which left me with 2x equals 45. And then, since these are multiplying right here, I divided both sides by 2 and got 22.5 for x. That's the shorter leg, this length of wood. Then I know that the second piece is just 5 inches longer than that. So 22.5 plus 5 is 27.5 inches. And that's how you do that one. All right, our third example tells us that the sum of two consecutive, so sum tells us that it's going to be addition. Sum always means adding. Pen's not working very well. Consecutive means it's going to come in a row. So if I have a number line here and I'm looking at all these numbers on the number line, it tells me it's an integer, which means I know it's not going to be one of the numbers in between here. It's going to be a whole number. The sum of two consecutive integers is 187. So I know that my first number is going to be here somewhere on the number line, and that the next one, since it's consecutive, will be right next to it. Since I don't know anything about where the first number starts, I'm going to call that number x. And then my question is, what is the relationship between x and the number next to it? Well, how far do I have to go past x? I have to go just one number further. So if I start at x, how much farther do I have to go? I have to go one further. So this is my first integer, and this is my second one. So I know that the sum of them, so here's my first integer, x. Here's my second integer, x plus 1, and the sum of them equals 187. This is my equation, and now all I have to do is combine my like terms. So x plus x gives me 2x. I don't have any other constants, so just still plus 1 equals 187. Now I have to get my x value all by itself on one side of the equation. So I'm going to get rid of the constant by subtracting, which is the inverse of adding 1. I'm subtracting 1. And I need to keep my equation balanced, so I do the same on both sides, and I get 2x equals 186. Now I have the operation is multiplication, so my inverse will be to divide both sides by 2. And I end up with x equals 93. And you can use a calculator for that if you don't know the answer. But that is what my first integer, that's 93. And since the next one comes right after it, I know it has to be 94. And I can double check my answer by adding the two together and making sure that they equal 187.